Thank you, Senator McConnell.
Shut it off.
To say that our next speaker made a splash in Kentucky is a bit of an understatement. And he is making a splash in Washington, D.C. right now in all the waves heading the right direction, in my humble opinion. He is our newest United States Senator from Bowling Green, Kentucky, Dr. and Senator Rand Paul.
Excuse the voice, the Republican women in Pinocchio made me speak without a microphone. I don't know what I'm going to do for Fancy Farm, I guess lemon tea maybe. Our economy teeters really at the point of another possible collapse. I think there's one single thing keeping us from that right now, and one person who has been helping us to stay out of this recession. The single most important thing going on in the last 6 months to a year to keep us out of recession was keeping the Bush tax cuts, and we can thank our senior Senator Mitch McConnell for that. I'll take liberties with the microphone here. All right, I think that'll help. I was going through the buffet a couple of weeks ago, and there's a guy in front of me with 2 large plates of food. And the guy next to him said, he was filling up a third plate. He said, "You're not going to live very long eating like that." The guy said, "Well, my granddad lived to be 105. And he said, "Well, I bet your granddad didn't live to be 105 eating like that." He said, "No, he lived to be 105 by minding his own business." That would be some good advice for our government. We've got a government full of busybodies. And if it weren't bad enough that there were busybodies telling you how much water in your toilet, what kind of shower head, what kind of light bulb, what kind of car, you name it. But to make things worse, there are 32 federal agencies now being busybodies and carrying weapons while they're doing it. Almost every agency up there's got a SWAT team. Now you wonder, why does the Department of Agriculture have to have a SWAT team? Because there are people selling milk straight from the cow. And we have to send a SWAT team, and I'm not kidding. In Los Angeles 2 days ago, SWAT team from the Department of Education shut them down. Now, Judy and John Dollarite wanted their kids to learn how to work. So they bought their boy, 14-year-old, a male bunny and a female bunny. And you know what happened? They got a lot of bunnies, and so the kids sold him. It was such a good business. When he went to college, his parents bought the bunny business. They paid their son $500 for the business. They made $4,600. If you're looking for work, selling bunnies seems to be it. But watch out. The Department of Agriculture, with their armed police, came to the Dollarites' house and said, "You don't have a $500 license to sell bunnies." Well, that sounds kind of bad, but you know, their rules are rules. That's not the end of it. They said, "We're going to fine you for each individual bunny. Each individual bunny you sold for the last 5 years." The fine was $90,000. But this is the government, and they're trying to make it easy on us. They said, "You can pay by credit card." But if you don't pay by credit card, within 30 days, your fine will be $3.1 million for selling bunnies. Is that not an example of a government run amok? EPA, anybody had any run-ins with the EPA? I have a friend in northern Kentucky who's a supporter. He was out moving some dirt around his cattle pond. The EPA came out there with 25 members, some of them armed, some of them lawyers, and I'm not sure which is worse, armed or lawyers. They told him they were going to fine him $25,000 a day. Well, he wrote to Senator McConnell, and he got the bill. And he said, "Well, I'm just going to read the bill. I know that's unusual, but I'm going to read the bill." And he found out that in the bill it said farms were exempt. So he had all these people out, some of them armed on his land. He pulled out the bill and he said, "Have you read the bill?" Of course, no one had. And he said, "Look, it says farms are exempt." And you can get the hell off my land. Mike and Claudia Sackett bought some property up near Priest Lake in Idaho. There's a house on one side of the property and a house on the other side, and their lot's right in between two houses. It already has a sewer hookup. It's pretty steep, so they put a lot of gravel on it to level it out. There's no creek, there's no pond, there's no lake, there's no water. It rains and no water stands. The government, the EPA, said it's a wetland. They said, well, you can still build on it, you just have to get a permit for building on a wetland. Can anybody imagine the process for getting a permit to build on a wetland? They think it's like a national park you're trying to build on. It will cost them more than the entire value of the property. This is going to go to the Supreme Court, though, and they have a chance of winning. But this is our government working to protect us from ourselves. I think in Washington we have a problem. It's basically the way we talk about how we're spending. We say we're going to cut $2 trillion, and you say, oh, that's great. But we're going to cut $2 trillion from a plan that's going to add $9 trillion in debt. We're just nibbling at the edges of growth of government. I'm supporting now a plan that I hope you'll write your congressmen and senators on. It's called the Penny Plan. Yes. If you cut 1% from government, from a baseline that goes across 1% less spending than we spent the previous year, you balance the budget in 6 to 8 years. I think we have a great slate. You can help us in Washington by giving us a new governor. We need to compete with other states. That's what happens in the United States. Texas created half the jobs last year. People are moving to Texas. People are moving to Tennessee. We have to compete with other states. We have to change our tax structure to compete. I think David Williams can do it. Thank you for having me.